Why midlife crisis is worse for successful men. My love, if you are the type of man, the stallion who has climbed every single mountain your ambition has told you to climb, you've earned the respect, you made the money, you got the power, only to find yourself sitting at the top, wondering why the hell does it still feel so empty and lonely? And despite all your efforts to fill in this infinite void with finite things, nothing that was recommended seems to work. Maybe you feel that this is it, but this video will hopefully bring you hope of a much more fulfilled life with a deep, loving transformation. Because this is my first video on this channel, don't think that this is my first rodeo. It's not the purpose of this video to share about my story, but I will do so you understand why is it that you should listen to me. So I'm Shell, and I founded psychosexual integrative therapy. But how did I get here? For 9 years, I had an eating disorder. I had a body image disorder. So I was not only very ashamed of my body, but I was really also ashamed about my sexuality. And when I healed in my mid-20s, I went to the other side of the spectrum and I explored my body and my sexuality in all ways possible. I At the time I became a sex addict, if I may say. I would look myself in the mirror, and if I hadn't had sex in a day, I would look and say, what a fucking waste of a day. And despite me being independently wealthy at the time already, I even got into this addiction, this compulsion, this thing inside me that wanted to explore all the corners. Not only led me to exploring the world of Tantra, exploring the world of BDSM, but it also led me to doing sex work, in becoming a dominatrix. Again, because money was never the thing for me, because at the time I even already had my first business. I was power hungry, which led me very fast to meeting very interesting, high profile individuals. um I've done these 5 years like this in the darkness. I forgot to share, I studied psychology at university. I am a psychoanalyst. I love the psychological work. For the matter of fact, my first business was around psychology. And it didn't take me very long to understand how much pain these successful individuals were feeling, despite society understanding that they have everything and they have no problems. Nobody's more hated in today's society than the white, successful, middle-aged man. Everybody blames him. If you are one of them, everybody blames you. The minorities blame you for everything. And I found how these individuals feel existentially lonely. That's when I got deeper and deeper. And when I finally healed again from all this chaos, I came to the middle, which enabled me to actually come out of the closet. I healed all my shame. I healed my sexuality, which allowed me to finally formally theorize the work, bring about psychosexual integrative therapy, and do this work publicly. I had a vanilla life and this shadow life, and then now it's all up front. It's all in the light. So if you might be wondering, why is it different? Why does midlife crisis hits different to the average man in opposed to the successful man? Your answers get responded. All your answers are in the pyramid, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the pyramid. Please excuse me, my loves. I was recently diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and I'm taking medication a couple of weeks now, and it gives me a lot of brain fog. My words are scrambled sometimes, so please bear with me if I scramble them up. It should be better in no time. So if you look into the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchies of needs, you see there at the bottom you need food, you need shelter, you need relationships, da, 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 da. And the last bit, the tip of the pyramid, we have spiritual. We need our spiritual growth. We need spiritual meaning. When the average bloke, the one who hasn't been able to achieve much in life, the one that hasn't been able to go up the ladder because he's still maybe busy with food and shelter, maybe he's still busy with relationships and significance, when he finds his pain in his heart, he can look into the things, he can look to the top of the mountain and say, it's because I haven't gotten there. But from my experience, the successful individual who's in the top of the mountain and he feels all this ache inside his heart, he has nowhere to see. He has no one to blame. He has nothing else to buy. And that's when things get really real. So the worst cases that I've dealt with were the wealthiest, the most powerful men that have come towards me to help work with them on this. It's and this pain, and let's just take a step back. Why also this pain is so common amongst men? Why do we have the highest suicide rates amongst males and not females? Is because women, because we go through cycles, we go through menstrual cycles, we have more room for emotions, for feelings, whereas the males, since a very early age, since they were boys, they were repressed. Their emotions were not allowed. Things were gay. We women, us, we blame patriarchy for doing horrible things to us, but patriarchy is also very predatory towards men. And this is, I'm not going to get political here, whether patriarchy is good or not, whatever. It's matriarch, patriarch. The point is unifying our forces, but patriarchy is equally as predatory to men as it is for women, if not worse, I must say. It's because men hide it better. They go into this warrior archetype. So let's look into our stallion. The stallion is what I kindly call the individuals that I work with, because stallions, they're powerful men. They're sexual types. They have their sexual energy. I mean, to climb a mountain, you have to have a lot of sexual energy to keep you desiring and keep you motivated to go up. Men and women who don't have a lot of life energy circulating around their bodies, they don't feel as alive and motivated to pursue things. So stallions are strong, they're sexual, and they crave freedom. And again, the stallions that I've worked with, and it's been over 55 individuals that I've had the pleasure, the honor to be in the intimacy with, in the intimacy of their emotions, in the intimacy of their pain, of their existence. They find themselves so lonely and they find themselves so trapped. They build a life and they feel that life is a cage because it sustains a man that they don't find themselves relating to anymore. It sustains a life that they can't relate to anymore. And not only that is imprisoning, but their mind. They don't know what to do with their mind. The mind can be so critical, can be so corroding, it can confuse them. I've noticed that stallions, if you're one of them, you will recognize yourself in this. They are powerful individuals and they feel lonely because they can't really be vulnerable with their fellow mates, with the other stallions, because it's always a competitiveness. If it's someone they respect, they don't want to be vulnerable because they don't want to be seen as weak. If it's someone below them, they don't respect them and they don't want to lose their position of looking good, so they don't share. And then with a wife, sometimes they are married to amazing women, but again, they don't also have the in, because they want to be seen as the rock. They want to be seen as the provider, the one that has its shit together, which we all know, not only for the married ones, leads them to seeking elixir in the feminine. I am not going to get too much into psychoanalysis here because I know that this is not what men like to hear. Men like to hear more about what to do and give me solutions. But just a bit of psychoanalysis, you have an anima inside your heart if you're a man watching this, and building a life, being strong, not being vulnerable, just being functional and practical, means that you have strengthened a lot of your animals, a lot of your masculine side. And you might need a woman to access your anima because you project that feminine onto her, so you can only You can only feel yourself, feel your depth with another woman. And that's dangerous. This is why the red pill movement hates women, because they need them. Similar to women, feminazis, they project all their anger for not having it on the other that has it. Where if we were able to develop those energies within us, we were able to find our individuation, which is what Jung, we just put this on charge. Okay, it's charging. What Jung calls it integration, which is what I help men integrate themselves with. So, but what's the difference between normal psychoanalysis, Jungian psychoanalysis, opposed to psychosexual integrative therapy? What I've learned through experience, and by the way, I no longer sleep with my clients, okay? But in the past, when I used to be a sex worker, but also in the present, now that I work with men in a psychosexual integrative therapeutic way, I've noticed that men are not women. They are not interested on yap, 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 and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean so much for them. That's a very feminine trait. Men are practical. They wanna find solutions because they wanna go into the doing. They're happy when they do things. They're happy when they provide, when they exercise their sense of agency. This is a very dominant thing. They want to be dominant, and stallions are alpha. They're naturally alphas. So talking and yapping, while it's useful, it doesn't turn them on. It's not their thing. If we look into Shiva and Shakti, that's Hindu mythology, even though some people might say it's true. Let's call it mythology. Shiva, let me tell you a story, and you start understanding what I mean. Shiva is the divine masculine. Shakti, his partner, is the divine feminine, the goddess and the god. And one day, Shiva was in deep meditation. The man yearns emptiness. That's why when he ejaculates, he empties himself. The masculine yearns death, yearns silence. Remember those comedians that say that a man has a box of nothing? This is what he meant. Men crave that emptiness, nothingness. So Shiva was meditating, quiet. But in the meantime, the world was burning and the world was chaos, and he needed Shiva to save the world. But nothing could wake Shiva up. People would poke him, shake him, call him, and Shiva was in that deep state of meditation. So then Shakti, in order to awaken him, she used her sexuality, and through his cock, he pulled his sexual energy out of his body. And with that, he awoke him. This is the beauty. It gives me goosebumps of women. This is the elixir that women can give, that a woman can give to a man, to bring men into life through their sexuality, through experiencing life, sexual energy, life energy, creativity. That's life. It's the opposite of death. And I've noticed that not only we can see this in mythology, but I've seen this practically in my journey, where the individual could have been beaten up at work, unmotivated, depressed, fucked, not in a good way, but he would still seek for the elixir of a woman. He still seeked that anima, that sense of understanding. He wanted to experience his own sensibility through a woman. And of course, now with my practice as well. So psychosexual integrative therapy, the point is that we engage your sexual energy in the therapeutic process. So we talk, we understand where the deepest of your wounds might be. Where were they forgotten? How old were you? When did you leave that boy behind? When did you imprison him in order to achieve and do without thinking, without feeling? We go into all these things. And through that, we engage your sexual energy. We engage your sexual energy through somatic practices, through power dynamic exercises, through psychosexual drama. Don't worry, no one gets naked. Your and homeworks and all that. So by piggybacking on your sexual energy, you feel the energy moving through you. You feel it and you are able to integrate it. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. I work with my clients over 3 months, but it brings them into integration. Having this pain inside their hearts and not resolving it brings a bunch of problems. They might become tyrannic with their relationships or their work, very intolerant. That's when they're in the tyrant archetype because they can't rise up as a king. Again, talking about archetypes, the light of this archetype is the king, and the shadows is the tyrant and the weakling. So when the man can't be a king because he has so many things unsolved inside his heart, so he can't be benevolent because there's so much in it, so much chaos inside him. He or becomes a tyrant or he becomes a weakling, but there's insecurities that corrode him, eats him up. There's things that he needs to resolve and he doesn't have where to go. Oh my God. Oh, it's agonizing. And of course, oftentimes these manifest in their sexual lives. I have worked with individuals who had a lot of power, but couldn't get hard in the bedroom. Despite having everything work, they went to the doctor, everything is supposed to be working. When they're by themselves, they can make it work. But when it comes to penetrating a woman, no, they can't because they feel weak, because the woman, the feminine, is still overpowering them. They still get loose in it. Same to sex addicts. I've worked with a few sex addicts who, because they can't feel anything, because they don't know who they are, they penetrate as many women as possible to feel themselves. And I've experienced this in my journey when I was a sex addict because I didn't know who I was. I wasn't sure who I was in my femininity, in my existence. I was sleeping and engaging with multiple people to see if I could get a glimpse of who I am. This is the type of stuff that we get going in practice. And the common objections that I get towards this is, will this can I do it without my wife knowing? Yes, because you're absolutely not cheating. If anything, I've seen stallions rekindle their relationships with their wives. Again, because they were sexual beings and their wives not so much, they didn't even know how to have an in again and restore that relationship. But they didn't want to be vulnerable to say, hey, I need help. So this is also possible if you're the type of individual who can't find love, and do I need to have a partner to be able to implement the things that you ask me to implement? No, you don't need to have a partner. A lot of the practices are self practices. I might teach you to do sexual energy transmutation, for example, which is a very healthy thing. We might work on sperm retention. Oh my God, there's so many things that can be done. So my love, this is just the first video of many. I'm excited about this journey ahead that I don't know how it's going to turn out. Being vulnerable here, I have a lot of, when it comes to, doing this work as a practice, when I'm with these individuals, everything flows so juicely, but I'm still getting used to having an online presence. I'm still getting used to putting my thoughts in a presentable way, because usually I just deal with what's in front of me. So if you have any shares, if you have any specific questions that you might have, I'm all open to receive and to translate that into knowledge and potentially help you have a more fulfilling life as a man. If you're interested about the work, there's a few things you can do. The first thing you can do is, of course, you can subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on other social medias. You can also request through our website to download the paper I wrote where I theorize the work. So the theory behind the work, you can download that paper. You go into my website, you go into method, I think it is, and my assistant will send you the paper. Or if you are interested to explore this, you can then go ahead also through my website and apply. Get into our waiting list, apply to do the work with me, and I will reach out to you for us to talk about it and understand where you're at and see if you're ready for this work, because it's deep work, but also to see if I can definitely help you. Okay? Send you much love, and I'll see you next time.